Hello, dear viewers. Today I'm going to be talking about something not part of my schedule, that is Henry Kissinger and his death. I'm going to discuss how I view his legacy and career from a nationalist perspective. Spoiler alert, I have a very, very negative view about him. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to Global Nationalism. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today I'm going to be talking about Henry Kissinger's death, and I will look at his life from a perspective of a nationalist. I have a negative view of Mr. Kissinger. I believe that he was not a true nationalist, but was actually a globalist in disguise of a nationalist. And I will explain why I think so in by using the following information. Let's get started. Mr. Henry Kissinger, was a former U.S. Secretary of State who played a pivotal role in the U.S. foreign policy during the Cold War. He has died at the age of 100. He lived long enough. I guess that's what they say, only the good die young. And despite leaving the office in the mid 1970s, he continued to be consulted by generations of leaders for decades. And let me tell you what he did in his career. In 1969, the then President Nixon appointed him National Security Advisor, a position that gave him enormous sway over U.S. foreign policy. His 8 years as both the NSA and the Secretary of State from 1969 to 77 saw the US finally end its involvement in the Vietnam War. It opened up relations with China, and he brought about a ceasefire in the 1973 Yom Kippur War. And Vietnam and Cambodia, while negotiating with North Vietnam, Kissinger approved a campaign against Cambodia. Now, just a reminder, Cambodia was neutral in that war, was not involved, but he still ordered a campaign against them because they were taken over by communists. Now, I and they communists were the Khmer Rouge. They were committing violence against their political opposition in Cambodia. Now, while I condemn political violence of any kind, including the Khmer Rouge, I don't think it's necessary for other countries to get involved. As long as the violence is contained within the borders of a country, it is for that country to resolve. As harsh as it may sound, we have to let countries do their own mistakes and learn from them. That's the best way a country can grow and change. And so he sent in thousands of ground troops and uh, dropped 2 million tons of bombs on Cambodia. He killed more than 50,000 civilians in the raids, and millions were displaced. He was a very violent man, causing great harm. This is seen further in his other actions in East Timor, Bangladesh, civil wars in southern Africa and Latin America. According to his biographer, Greg Grandin, he had the blood of at least 3 million people on his hands. That is half the number of Jews that Adolf Hitler killed. Why is this man supposed to be celebrated? We should be condemning him universally as a warmongering, evil person. And 2023 investigation by The Intercept found that Kissinger was responsible for more civilian deaths in Cambodia than was previously known, and according to an exclusive archive of U.S. military documents and interviews. And According to the Intercept, it was not 50,000 civilians, but 150,000 civilians, which was 6 times the amount of non combatants that the United States has killed in airstrikes since 9/11. His policies were incredibly destructive. He also was involved in campaigns against Laotians and obviously the Vietnamese, like I said, and he was received a Nobel Peace Prize in 1973 for getting a ceasefire in the war, but he knew at that time that their war would continue, and so did some of the members of the committee, but they still awarded him because he got a ceasefire in the first place, and his North Vietnamese counterpart Lee Duc Tho rejected the prize, but he didn't. Shows his character. And uh, in Latin America, he plotted to overturn the democratic election of Chile's socialist president Salvador Allende. I am a capitalist, so I would not want a socialist to be elected or to rule over any country. But even if that happens, I would not want my country to interfere in the politics of that country and somehow get a capitalist elected. That is not correct. No country has a right to do that. And we must respect each country's sovereignty. He obviously didn't. This is one reason why I call him a globalist, not a nationalist. A nationalist would uh, protect his own nation and would also respect other nations. He didn't. Then, when uh, eventually capitalists like Augusto Pinochet took over, who, as a leader of a military junta, he went to kill on thousands of Chileans. In Argentina, Kissinger gave another green light, this time to a terror campaign of torture, forced disappearances, and murder by a military junta that overthrew President Isabel Perón. Now, as I've said in a previous video about Argentina, I criticize Argentina's socialist government a lot. I think that they are responsible for the country's current economic crises, but that does not give any other country the right to interfere in their politics, including the United States. In fact, what Kissinger told the then junta's foreign minister that if there are things that have to be done, you should do them quickly. This was referring to war crimes. The dirty war that followed in Argentina took 30,000 lives, Argentinian lives. When the India, uh, Bangladesh slash Pakistan War of 1971 began, Kissinger described Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi as a B word, as a bitch, and he also said that Indians are bastards shortly before the war, and later expressed his regret over the comments. Uh, he said that they are the most aggressive goddamn people around, so nasty kind of person, very racist. Kissinger was indignant at the Indians on June 30th, 1971, because he felt that India was responsible for the millions of Bengali refugees fleeing the Pakistan army and coming to India. That's not true. It was the Pakistan army's response for uh, trying to for committing mass slaughter of Bengalis in East Pakistan, and they also attacked India. The war started with them attacking India, so India had every right to respond. India was affected by this. This is not like him getting involved in Argentina, Cambodia, or various other countries that had nothing to do with the United States. And though his opinion of India changed, in this year when Prime Minister Modi went to the US on an official state visit, Kissinger, despite not keeping in good health, traveled to Washington to listen to Narendra Modi address a luncheon at the State Department, jointly hosted by Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Antony Blinken. What do I make of this? I say that it shows that Kissinger was an imperialist. He wanted to control other countries, how they go about their politics, their economics, and he felt that the United States had the right to force its will on them. And his policies uh, contributed to mass human suffering, and the legacy of his policies in Southeast Asia continued in the United States Middle East wars, which he supported. He was an advisor to George Bush, who has obviously, I'm sure, very sad about him dying. Must feel like losing an uncle. Anyway, so his legacy contributed to the military policies in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, which caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. So not only did he have a bad impact during his tenure, his policies continued to harm other countries, and the Middle Eastern wars caused mass migration of Muslims into Europe and also into the United States and Canada, which affected those countries negatively by getting causing social upheaval and demographic problems for the local population. So yeah, his policies hurt his own nation and his nation's uh, cultural sphere. So yeah, I don't think he's a nationalist. He was a globalist. He also got started the corporatization of foreign policy of America by as a consultant in his company, where he con- gave consultations to government officials in the State Department to promote American companies abroad by giving them deals and working with the government. That is not capitalism, that is corporatism, which I despise. So, yeah, I do not like this man. Now, I don't wish death upon anyone. I I feel sorry for his family, but I do despise him, and I don't feel sad or sorry that he's dead. Good riddance. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. If you want to see my previous video, click here. And if you want to see the sources I use for this video, click the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Vande Mataram.